What's going on, guys? This is Carl with the Racerred channel. Today I'm riding the mighty DRZ 400S, and I wanted to talk a little bit about different dual sports and my opinion of them. You have a lot of different adventure options. This kind of bike is a little bit lightweight in terms of horsepower and storage if you're going to go all the way across the country or something like that. Although I use it in that way quite a bit. I don't go all the way across the country with it, but I've gone on some really long rides with it. But you're really maxing it out. Like, I've taken it to Yellowstone National Park, which is quite a ways away. You end up revving it up way too much on the highways and stuff like that. So I would recommend something with a little bit more horsepower than this if you're going to do that style of riding. But this is obviously my favorite kind of bike for dual sport riding, for dual purpose riding, because it is lightweight. It's lightweight enough for me to go on just about any type of terrain comfortably. Like right now, this is like a Jeep trail, but I'd be comfortable going on most single track with this. Granted, I can't be taking it off of jumps. There's a style of riding that I use when I'm riding this. I'm not ever afraid of hurting myself. I'm more so afraid of hurting the bike. So if there's a big G out, if there's a big like whooped out section, I'm going to slow down and I'm going to try to preserve my bike as opposed to hitting it, because there's a lot that I personally can take. Like, it'll absorb through the tires, through the suspension. By the time it gets to me, I can absorb it with my body, with my legs, but in the process, it's likely to really jack some things up, like my turn signals, different lights. Any dual sport's going to have that problem. You have a lot more electronics, and it's just heavier, so you're going to have issues with breaking your frame and that kind of thing. So I try not to do anything too insane with this bike. There's always going to be that preservation factor when you're riding this style. But that said, you know, this thing is definitely my personal favorite of all the dual sports that I have personally ridden. This is my favorite. This is a good mixture of performance and durability and street worthiness. So if you want to go across the country on the highways and freeways, there are some bigger bikes, but in that case, like, I have the MT-09 Yamaha, which is a full-blown street bike. So unless you're going across the country and going off-road, I don't understand the adventure touring bikes, really. A dual sport like this can do everything. An adventure touring bike like a big BMW, some of the KTMs, those are kind of cool, I guess, but a lot of them just seem like they aren't real capable. They aren't real capable off-road, so I don't see the purpose other than being extremely comfortable. There are specific use cases, like if you're going to be taking dirt roads, if you're going to make routes on dirt roads, then a lot of those BMWs look pretty solid for that. And honestly, that's a lot of fun too. It looks like a lot of fun anyway. I ran into a big group of adventure touring riders, and they had not seen pavement for a long time. They were riding dirt roads, and man, that seems like a lot of fun to travel around on dirt roads. You're definitely going to have some issues with flat tires, so you got to be prepared for that kind of stuff. If you're going to be that far back into the country, then you gotta be prepared to fix some stuff, because there's not going to be a dealership back in there. So, performance beyond this bike, I had my Beta 500 RRS, which I loved that bike. I have very few bad things to say about it. That was really a good bike. But the problem with it is that I didn't want to take it too far back in the woods like I would my Husqvarna or my KTM. I didn't want to get broke down way back in the mountains somewhere and not even have a truck to go back to. Because if you're using that thing as a dual sport, then you're riding it on the highways and you're riding the trails. So when you get done trail riding, there is no truck. You just get on the road and you go home. Well, out in the mountains, it's a pretty high probability that you're going to break something. And do you really want to ride highways after you broke something on your bike? Or, you know, I mean, there's just a lot of probabilities. A lot of probability that you will have some sort of issue. And to me, it was just didn't make sense. I installed super heavy duty tubes on this bike and put dual sport tires on it. When I install tires, they aren't going to be balanced, that's for sure. This rear tire kind of wobble, it has a little wobble effect to it, a little unbalanced feel. But I don't care so long as it does not get flat. This is a 400cc bike, which I think is just right for going on trails, hitting dirt roads, and then hitting regular roads and even highways. I can do highway speed comfortably on this bike. Where it's a problem is when I hit freeways. I can do freeway speed, but I wouldn't want to do it all day on this. So for that, I would go a step above the 400cc bikes and go up to more of a hardcore adventure bike. I'm not even real sure what the CCs are on those. I know KTM has like a 690 engine, but I'm not sure if they put that in their adventure bikes. But it really depends on the level of niceties you want as well. I am a minimalist, really, when it comes to motorcycles. When I start climbing a hill, I'm going to start pronouncing things wrong. Yeah, you can get heated grips, heated seats, you can get a stereo. So there's definitely different levels of comfort. And also the seats just become really comfortable. Get these giant windscreens. Personally, I don't like, most of that stuff most of the time. In fact, even a windscreen I don't really like. I put one on my MT-09 and I feel like it just puts the wind in my face more. Like it definitely doesn't help very much. The reason I even keep it on there is because it keeps the MT-09's instrument cluster clean of bugs, because it is really hard to clean that thing up. So yeah, for general adventure riding, this is a good bike. For cross-country riding, I would choose my Yamaha MT-09, but if I'm going to be on dirt roads all day long and hopping off onto the highways, as long as I'm not hitting the freeways, this bike is totally fine. I have a hard time seeing the purpose behind the really big bikes. But like I said, there's levels to it. I mean, some of them are super, super big. I don't know each model. Like, I know pretty much all of the models of dirt bikes and enduro, dual sport, all that stuff. But you start getting into the adventure bikes, and that's where I don't know a lot about them. The GS line is what BMW has, and apparently people like those. And then KTM, they've got their adventure line. But I say that you can't go wrong with a good old DRZ 400, which you can easily purchase used for $3,500, and it's every bit as good as the new ones because they haven't changed for ages. basically since they started making them. I think the first DRZ 400S came out in 2004 or 2005. Yeah, I think 05 was the first one. This bike that I'm riding right here, I think is an 06. But the 05 had the yellow on it. Yellow color scheme. When it comes to crashes, dangerous terrain, honestly, some of the most dangerous stuff that I come across are just roads like this one. You're riding along, you don't see something off camber, and it washes your front end out, you're face planting, and a lot of times you're not paying attention. It's just really easy if you are paying attention and going slow, but if you're not paying attention and you go fast, which is what I tend to do on stuff like this, because you just don't have as much respect. You're not respecting the terrain like you normally would. And to get in dangerous situations on this terrain. The conditions are hard to beat right now. Really hard to beat. Not a cloud in the sky. Nice air. Ooh, it's good. It's good. Alright, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Check for cars, no cars.